possibly can. Uh, this is Russ. We're on 9:70 a.m. WSTX. We're giving thanks for another day. This side of the planet, this side of Earth. Um, a lot of things that we can talk about. Uh, I'm sorry about that, people. We're working with the squeaks in the floor, so to speak, right? Everything is organic. Sorry for those of you who are on Facebook. Like I was saying, there's a lot of things we can talk about, a lot of things we can reason on, but let's start talking about the things that we're actually doing something about, right? Um, Very interesting. Uh, Good morning. Very positive. We're on here a little late because sometimes the reasoning people, we have to find a way of getting these reasonings on the airwaves. Very important conversations. And yes, I said conversations. There's no need for me to differentiate between conversation because I know it is a conversation that I'm having and that we were having. Okay. And just for clarity, it is not con Old English. It is con Latin, meaning with. Okay. So those who are trying to expand on these words. Anyway, something that's kind of disturbing me in the back of my head as I tried to start this day, and it's something that's very painful. And I was trying not to address it until I can address it properly. But people, if we don't respect ourselves by way of the children that we're supposed to be responsible for as a society, as a state, something is really wrong. And it's kind of painful when you think about it. And if this doesn't bother you and hurt you, I don't know what kind of spirit you have on you. But when we have our precious little children um, going to school and they're looking forward to being a sanctuary where uh, they're going to have fun and opportunity to grow and to speak, and they're learning to reason and socialize and all of these things, people. Um, Considering that the children are our future and how valuable they are, we have to think in how irresponsible and evil people in our government are. There is no excuse for it, and there's no other words that I personally can use other than irresponsible and evil. When our children, those who are going to our Institute of Learning for the first time in their lives, are going into these environments and not being respected. I'm speaking in particular to the Head Start and the kindergarten areas where for the last couple of days, people, uh, they've been fed. I don't know. You could tell me so that when I use words to describe what people are doing, people don't get offended. But when our children are just getting fed crackers, imagine that, and water, or bread, knows what kind of bread and cheese, supplemented by water, well, you go and figure it out. And again, this is fact verifiable information, right? What are we saying when we accept that kind of behavior? I don't like to bring things to complain. I don't like to bring things to point out something new in the territory just because. But something is going to be done about it. And in the meantime, it is politics as usual. the time of the year, the time of the season when hypocrisy is the order of the day. Alliances being formed, strange bedfellows, where people are quick to say that they're of this particular party or that particular party, and how important in being engaged in these activities are, when at best it is just a distraction on any level, on any platform. And when you're so wrapped up into a system that has indoctrinated you, and you figure that you have an entitlement to participate in it based on your exposure over the years, how it was given to you, you would want to believe that, thinking that voting is your answer. And you would give it all, your all, to think that you're entitled to represent a particular ideology or a philosophy based on the system of politics, Republican, Democrat, and any of the other parties in between. And the system is so structured that you think that you have a right to represent because that's all you have ever known in your entire life, been exposed to. And you're so tied in and tied out that your spirit can't release you to something as simple as truth. And it's a funny thing how people, right, living souls, buy into things, are controlled by things, uh, simply because it's done on a large scale. And it's something interesting about the Stockholm syndrome and 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 the similar syndromes that people take in masses. Um, and we're here now in this space and time where somebody is going to talk from the perspective of whatever political party or agenda that party may have or not have, what the philosophy speaks to. And they're going to get so distracted with that that they're going to speak on it to the extent that some of them will probably bet their lives on it because they've been rewarded under the system, right? But some of us know that the whole structure of voting, the whole election systems, doesn't matter if you're Republican, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, it's a large distraction. And when you incorporate that into your life and you don't know any better, then you wind up performing politics as usual. So much so that you can't blame any one particular political party as to what the conditions in the territory is, simply because they all follow a basic philosophy, a basic ideology. And it's not structured, and it was never structured from the individuals who are actually in the territory right now, the neo-colonialist. And it's very difficult when a people, because the powers, quote unquote, to be, they know more or less what your interest is going to be, or what things you're going to more or less migrate towards, what you're going to be interested in, no matter what. And they smile year after year, elections after elections. And while we have people who are going to say, well, how else are we going to do X, Y, Z if we don't vote and if we don't do this and if we don't have all these things, right? Well, I'll tell you what, when you're finished, I want you to be honest with me and tell me what has that produced in terms of progressing us from where we're at right now. Don't blame any one particular party. That's a given. it could easily be flipped to the other political party. What brought us, this colony, into the state that we're in right now? It is always said that a people will perish due to the lack of knowledge. And when knowledge is given, it better be used properly to produce power. And in this election system, when, or I should say, season, when people actually going to be lying to each other, trying to galvanize themselves to create and to produce a vote so that whatever party or representative of a party that gets into any of these important areas is going to do the bidding of who and what. And they will try to tell you that it's for the benefit of the people. Well, stop telling lies. The last time I checked, the truth can always be an offense, but it's never a sin, right? I mean, when the truth that's being said is actually something correct as opposed to something that's not a lie. We can get into that later on. But people, you're watching some strange alliances. You're watching people who are saying that this person is not part of this group, that person not a part of that group, this person back and forth, this person I don't like, that person don't like them, but yet they're in bed with each other during this political season. How are we going to benefit? How are our children going to benefit from this kind of behavior? Because right now, schools are shuttered. Our children are walking into school being fed crackers, cheese, and bread, and given water to drink. If not, they're given some form of something that is called a fruit, be it syrup. If it's not the hard fruit itself, maybe be it a drink. And we expect that our future is supposed to look brilliant and good when our very future we're disrespecting right now. All of you in government, we we pay attention to what the senators are doing and not doing. We pay attention to what the executive branch is doing and not doing. Uh, we don't speak often enough what the judiciaries are doing and not doing. But we don't go beyond that to talk about what these commissioners themselves are doing when they're getting quote unquote reasonable compensation, right? We have a lot of friend up people here, people who are in the status quo group and cliques and clacks who pay more attention to giving each other compliments and not doing the work that benefits the very children. There's nothing we can talk about here. Any subject you bring to these airwaves to speak on, if the children isn't in your heart and they're not in your soul and they're not the spirit of the reason why we do and say things. Another thing in this political season is that all the politicians and everybody who seeks to be uh, looking for acknowledgement is now talking about the conditions at the hospitals and the fact that they know that we don't have this and we don't have that. Uh, those sitting senators who are senior senators, where are their records to prove in this election season that they were ever addressing the condition of our healthcare system in the territory, our hospitals? Where is it? You have those aspirants trying to use the fact that we don't have hospitals to engage the people to say that they're doing things when at best they're not. All they're doing is on social platforms producing correspondences to certain people in the hospital system, but they're not there in the grind. Their elbows are not written, their name is not there doing the work, but they're quick in a political season to make the people believe that they're engaged in fixing things or working on things, and it's all fallacy. And if you, the people, don't recognize this, because apparently they're confident that you wouldn't address it properly, and part of that is because the culture is you're waiting for a savior, a shiro, or a hero to come and do the bidding for you. And the culture is a small little clique and culture that would encourage people who are the doers or who have knowledge to bring information to them so that they can speak on it. But when you ask those who are speaking on it to produce the receipts to show that they're actually doing something other than just reporting, because all it is just a, what we call information ministers. What are they actually doing to resolve the problems other than just repeating what somebody else has been doing and not doing? Posting things on these social platforms on things that they can't show receipts that they're addressing. Hypocrites telling each other lies, supporting each other for what cause? It is political at best. Some of them going to start trying to call radio shows to start politic, uh, politicking early, not having the people's interest all along on the ongoing. But now the season is here, so all of a sudden now they're going to make themselves uh, appear to be, because they have accepted that you have accepted that you're not going to do anything, and they would more encourage you uh, not to listen to people who are going to teach you to fish as opposed to giving you a fish. They want you to keep on depending on them, so they'll keep on giving you fish. You will always be a people who are dependent on somebody and not believing in yourself enough to know that you're just intelligent as they are, and you can contribute from wherever you are equally to actually bring about a change. But one thing, and the change that's going to come is not going to come in politics as usual. You're either going to be right or you're going to be wrong. You're either going to be good or you're going to be bad. You're either evil or you're not, but you're not in between. Growing pains are just that, they're growing pains. We have people now who, uh, internationally, let's speak on international, right? Everybody was criticizing the Prime Minister of Trinidad because she was acquiescing to what the US was asking or demanding of them and her. And it is hypocritical at best, because if you just would move any of those island states, those Caribbean states or international states, and just trade the position with Trinidad, they would be doing the same thing if they were 7 miles off of Venezuela, which is the focus of the US uh, under the current um, second generation immigrant, Mr. Donald Trump. What was reminded of me in his early speech that he insisted, and he did say that he was going to do what? Resurrect imperialism, and he's doing that right now. You hear talks about Greenland being in the conversation right now, and to what degree it affects us here in the Virgin Islands. And they'll give you the history of Greenland with the Danes negotiating with the US and maybe Germany in between. You hear all these histories, and people, they know. They could tell you. Well, I'm waiting to see without me having to say what's the real purpose of the US going into the imperialistic mode all over the world. And why in particular they're mentioning Greenland, and who wants to bring to your attention uh, the value of Greenland in this conversation with the US and the Danes and the VI. It's a conversation that's going to be had and things are going to be spoken, right? But you have to let these quote unquote specialists who know these things to make their election knowns so that we don't have this gaslighting things where you say things and all of a sudden they get corrected and they go on platforms and they start talking differently. So you have to wait for them to actually put it out where they can't say, I said anything or you say. It's based on what they say when it comes to the issue of Greenland, the US, Germany, Russia, China, and Canada as well. What's the history behind it? Very important to know what the whole history is, not from the perspective of people who want to tell you what the history is based on the fact that they read certain books. If they're not in possession of certain documents, when they speak about the involvement with the US, with Greenland, and Denmark, and Germany, and the Virgin Islands, they would have to be speaking of a particular document, and I've yet to hear any of them speak of that document. Where do we fit in the scheme of things when you have quote unquote superior states on the planet claiming to own you? Deciding for you what your destiny should be. And at best, relying on the fact that you've been conditioned, just like the Stockholm Syndrome, to believe that you're entitled to protect that system of imperialism, colonialism, and slavery. Your spirit and your minds have yet to be free. Want to engage in conversations as if we and it's our. It's not we and it's not our. But you've been conditioned to speak that way and to think that way. So yeah, we have work to do. Um, liberation is here. Liberation is here, and we're in the genesis of it, and uh, people get on board. Get on board. It's okay. Don't be scared. It's okay to be free. You don't have to allow anyone to scare you with the fact that they've been indoctrinated to the point where they're actually slaves, and they will try to justify their position from anything they can benefit from being under that type of spell, that that mindset, and that spiritual imprisonment. They will sit down and tell you any reasons why what the president is currently doing benefits anybody on the planet from various perspectives. What your ideology is and what your reasonings are. At the end of the day, it is death and destruction. And every man thinks that his burden, everyone thinks that his or her burden is the heaviest. I pray that none of you, and those of you who elect to defend what's happening now in the world, well, volunteer and go to the militaries and volunteer to be on the front line. Do it. Don't just talk. Do it. I don't know um, how certain people are going to be reached if you're not hmm, if you're not walking or if you don't carry that spirit of liberation. We won't ever see it, but we know that there's a lot of Mingo Tamarin among us who's carrying that spirit, where the colonizer can't control those of us who refuse to be enslaved. So they elect your own who are willing to do their bidding to come at you. Mingo Tamarins are still here. That spirit is still here right now in 2026. And some of them walk around talking about being Pan Africanist, but they're still quick to surrender and acquiesce to the imperialistic state because it's here now. Master, see, we don't talk like them. Master, see, not all of us are going to behave like them, Master. I use those words that way because that's exactly what it is. You're condoning a behavior that's at best the same behavior that enslaved our ancestors, and not only our ancestors, people throughout the whole planet. And because you don't know what war is, what it smells like, what it sounds like, what it tastes like, you apparently don't care. Well, I'll challenge those of you who are advocating for the posturing that the US military is taking right now to volunteer and go give support. Go give up your life. Put yourself on the front line. Don't just talk. Because somebody evil is smiling that your spirits are actually being controlled that way. Why is it so difficult for peace, tranquility, and righteousness to blanket the planet? Why is it so difficult? And you can't justify it, right? Because might makes right. So whoever have the biggest gun is who rule, right? And if you're thinking that way, then maybe you're willing sometime during the day tonight for somebody to put a big gun in your face, take all your belongings from you, and you would just gladly do it and don't have anything to say because might makes right. Might makes right. It is not good for any being on this planet to advocate for a system of evil, given fact verifiable evidence of what that evil produced. It doesn't matter which part of the planet you're on and what government or nation you're under. Evil is evil. Colonialism at best has been a very negative thing for anybody on this planet to experience. But yet, somehow, we continually defend it simply because we're benefiting from the other side of it. And we don't know what that is, right? Well, let's speak to some intelligent people in the territory. And perhaps next week somebody is going to tell me, if not before the end of the show, what's the real purpose of the US having interest in Greenland in 2026? Besides what you think you're hearing over the common news networks and some of the social media platforms. And people are going to come and tell you the whole history of Greenland's involvement in talks with the US and Denmark and Germany. But if they're not producing particular documents, they're just giving you history lessons. At the end of the day, it still doesn't put you or take you from under colonial control and rule, imperialism at best. And I would urge some of you, don't die being slaves. And if not physically, don't die being a slave spiritually. Because once you accept imperialism and colonialism and all its forms and all its manifestation, then you're admitting to being comfortable with the crimes around you. So you can't complain that somebody's stealing, robbing, cheating, murdering. You can't complain about that because you feel comfortable with it. You think you have a right to be protected by might makes right. I don't know about you. I know about we, and we know who we are. I don't know how them they is, how we and them gonna work this thing out. Because when Mike makes right, there's a lot of innocent blood. But we can be so desensitized from what the reality of the worlds are because we watch a lot of movies and we watch a lot of things and you become desensitized to some degree. So everything is trivialized and you're talking. But how many of you actually would be willing to be on the front line? Not many of you who are talking in support of it. And people, will be taking calls at the other side of the top of the hour. Um, got in here a little late today because we had some reasoning going on, and time flies when you're having good reasoning. But it was meant for that reasoning to have, given the way things were occurring, given the reason why I'm here. I give thanks. Um, and we have work to do, people, and I don't know how and when we as a people are going to galvanize enough to make the change. But we do know that not everyone is going to be on board. That's a fact. So those who have ears to hear, let us do. And those who don't have, maybe someone will come and rescue you because you're waiting to be rescued. You have to walk through the whole gamut of politics as usual and who's friended up and who's tied in and who's tied out and who's part of whose social network, uh, who likes who. And in the meantime, our children are suffering. And everything we do as adults, if our children doesn't come first, that's our future. It shows you what kind of future we're thinking, we're expecting when our children are going to school, being fed that way. And please don't insult anybody's intelligence by telling us about funding and federal grants. It has nothing to do with that. We have gotten to the point where we're accepting that our children are being fed this way. We don't know what their household looks like, but the one place, the institution, the system of learning where they should be coming and being a sanctuary to learn and to be happy and to see how brilliant they are, how energetic and how intelligent they are, and they're being met with this as we have the responsibility, people. That's unacceptable. We don't have fully functioning hospitals, people. How long has that been going on? And you want people to every day talking about this thing, Juan Louis, JFL, and the Schneider, and the people who are saying it at best. It become a norm, and it's normalized to you now. So you talk of it as if it's, I guess it is accepted by now. And then you have people in the territory trying to take claim for work that they have not done relative to our hospital system and the healthcare system. They have not done the work, but they're quick to talk about these things. Every time something pops up in this territory, people are quick to engage and put themselves involved in it because it's the thing of the time to talk about. But they don't have the God honest receipts to show that they're actually doing the work but they're quick to have you believe that they're doing so. Well, we're going to start asking them, besides the little superficial things that they're posting on these social platforms and having you believe that they're engaged and they're not engaged. But anyway, people, we're going to try and melt into the top of the hour and we're going to come out of it. And we'll be reasoning those of you who were online. Um, Apologize for not getting to you, but we will be getting calls or taking calls at the after the 11 o'clock hour. Okay, people, walk good. See you then. here in this USVI, and willing to engage. And anyway, let's see. Thank you, caller. Okay. Callers, if you were on hold, you can try again. Apologies for that. Yeah. We're hearing people, some of the reasonings, I tell you. We're going to have to find uh, time so we can engage and build on, perspective on things. And sometimes it's the perspective while we're on breaks that we would like to bring forward because they go kind of deep and lengthy and challenging. Um, those of you who called in earlier and were on hold or were going into break and all along, I apologize for the holds. However, lines are now open. Um, and again, we're in a territory, and for that part, it's not only this territory where the peoples are always under a predictable spell, and sometimes it's hard to wake people up out of it. And I know lots of us, lots of you, are aware of what you're doing that's not right. Well, let's correct it because the children are suffering, the children are our future. Um, there's more than enough proof and evidence throughout the years that we don't have a functional hospitals right now, and we've gotten down into accepting that we have modulars and accepting the modulars using acronyms right now through the years is become the norm. God forbid we have any major emergencies where there's a significant amount of people uh, to be treated. We're not equipped and ready for it. Why? With the billions of dollars of money in and around moving through, in and around the Virgin Islands territory, there's no excuse for it. None. But yet we accept it. And the more we accept it, the more they know that they're expecting us for not to do anything about it because all they have to do is just give you a day off and have you come and whine and shake up and do everything else and have people feel importance and give them some kind of reward. And before you know it, you're not actually standing up in frustration up to where the hospitals are, even though um, you go to the hospitals day in and day out and you can't be properly treated or attended to. The hospital staff are stressed out. The nurses are stressed out. We have a top heavy administrative staff in the whole hospital system, the whole healthcare system. And somehow we have the whole system reversed where people are thinking that the administrative part of the hospital system is there for the health workers as opposed to the other way around.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for taking my call. This is Mary Moorhead. I just wanted to, ask to be able to make an announcement about the bill. Am I on the air?
What bill is this?
Bill 360187, and it has to do with voting on paper ballots, that then the votes of the paper ballots would be manually counted at the voting center.
This is Russ Christopher. You may go ahead and say it.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Good morning to you and good morning to your listening audience. As I said, in the Senate Government Operations, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection Committee will be having a hearing next Friday at 9 a.m. in the Legislative Hall. And let me just point to the listening audience that it matters not where the chair is. Both district legislative halls are open to the public, the one in St. Croix and the one in St. Thomas. So we're encouraging and asking the people to show up in the hall because we have experienced that when senators see audience, it encourages them to be more supportive. And this bill, as I said, is to give a choice for voting, that those of us that don't want to use the machine, that we can vote on paper ballot. But the main part of it is that the full process of the paper ballot is completed. And by that, I mean that the paper never interacts with our voting machine. It is the votes of those paper ballots that are put in a separate box are manually counted at the voting center.
All right, thank you.
Thank you much.
All right. Okay, people. Yeah, and there's always work to be done in this place, and one of the things, like I was saying at the beginning of the program, relative to the whole political season again, I tell you, we have work to do. Liberation is here, and it means that we cannot perform politics as usual. That's what got us here, and that's what have us right now suffering, not having adequate health care and adequate hospital system or hospitals, period. Uh, we don't intend to allow certain energies to control the environment. So let's recognize that, right? And again, for those of you who were on hold earlier on, if you choose to call again, do so. And always remember, in order for you to deny something, it always has to exist. So, that being said, people, we're talking about the events that are occurring here, that, what I should say, affect us here in the territory with the U.S. posturing on imperialism and the fact that they are doing so just that in Venezuela. Well, they've done it in other places before. They've done it in Libya. They've done it in Iraq. They've done it in Yemen, in Somalia. And just exactly where do you think we sit in the scheme of things when you have a superpower that thinks that they own you? And just where in the scheme of things that people are trying to deny that we have a constitution that speaks otherwise. But because of the control of the imperialist, the colonizing state, these who want to acquiesce, these Mingo tamarins that have no shame, we are left to defend it from the spiritual level. But it's okay because that's exactly where the fight is. We're not here to fight against flesh and blood. And that's where the fight is. So when we have might makes right, and you happen to be under the flag, we're going to have people here who, at best, is going to acquiesce. And those who want to talk and speak Pan-Africanism, or I should say pseudo Pan-Africanism, those neo-colonialists who in 2026 are opening up their arms to this imperialistic state. Right now, you can't ever speak to the fact that our ancestors were enslaved, because it's the same imperialistic mindset, the philosophy, the ideologies is what brought about slavery. and enslaving people throughout the world to insist on having colonies. That's the hypocrisy in some people. And maybe it's not hypocrisy. Maybe we just have to accept that that's what the evil spirits are. It scares some people so much to think that they will be free, to the extent where they're going to tell lies about what free really is. Not freedom, but free. What liberty really is. It scares people, right? You've been living in a cage for so long that when the cage is open, you don't know anything else and you don't believe in self to be able to walk out the cage. So you justify being in the cage with everything that you possibly can based on the fact that you're benefiting while you're in the cage. So you don't want to go outside the cage. So you're finding reasons to explain why it's better to stay inside the cage than as opposed to being out of the cage. Well, if your God wanted you to be enslaved or to be enslaved, then so be it for you. But for a lot of us, we know that the Almighty God of righteousness gave us the opportunity to be free and not to have to worry about imperialistic uh, philosophies or imperialism, period. It doesn't matter who and what flag is flying. People are selling their rights, surrendering their rights every day. Again, the political season is here. People are posturing. They're only mentioning things based on how they think they are going to benefit, what seats they're going to fill that the colonizer left for them to do so, to feel important on things. And at the end of the day, look at the territory. Because to think otherwise is to bring a negative result, negative conditions. We have everyone and just about every one of the departments in this government, people are actually stealing monies left and right. It's part of the culture right now. Just about every department, every agency. But I guess your spirits run shallow for you to accept these things. Push it on the side and move on to the next day. Don't know what to tell people other than the fact that some of us are born to be slaves and some of us aren't. And apparently, there's more of us who are born to be slaves than those of us who are not. Our ancestors were enslaved, but during the enslavement, they were slaves themselves. People willing to be slaves, willing to go tell the violator, the slave violator, I should say, not master, that there were others who were willing to be free to remove themselves from under that hmm, diabolical lifestyle. They were willing to go tell the master that we were trying to free ourselves. And some of them are doing it right this minute. They said when the cat's away, the mice will play, right? So, in absence of having to acquiesce to colonialism and imperialism, the mice is playing right now. They're using the fact that some of us refuse to be slave on any level and rejecting colonialism in all its forms and all its manifestations to find ground for themselves, to fill the seats that the colonizer left behind. They're actually galvanizing against people who speak in liberation right now. They're galvanizing themselves because they have to protect their interests. These bunch of pseudo Pan Africanists, these neo-colonialists, doing the bidding of the colonizer. Isn't it kind of strange to you that the person who's leading the colony right now, Donald J. Trump, whether you agree with what he's saying or you disagree with what he's doing, you agree with what he's doing or you disagree, it doesn't matter which one of these Anglo-Saxon labeled white European are doing these things, they are doing these things. Be it you're a Democrat or a Republican. But somehow the Stockholm syndrome and beyond is in you to think that you are we and we are. When you say we, you're including yourself with the likes of him and their mentality and the ideology that's putting them in the place to be, to justify being terrorist. And you can't possibly connect with your ancestors being enslaved and support imperialism in all its forms and all its manifestations. You can't. But yet some of us do, right? Why is that? What kind of spirits are in these people? Listen to the headline news, and that's all you do know, and you will stand up and speak in authoritative voice and you know and positions based on what you've heard on these the average news network and the average platform, social media platforms. And again, a lot of it is full of misinformation and incomplete information, but yet you stand in authority. I hear people speak in authority of a lot of things. And you ask them to show some receipts, and they don't have the receipts to show the things that they're talking about. And they mislead people because people are believing in them because they have a familiarity with them or they have some kind of a history with the people, with the person. And they tend to believe these people when they speak with these authoritative voices and structure, misrepresenting information as recently as a few weeks ongoing now, where there's a lot of misinformation being spread and people are believing it, but you have to allow it to occur so that when you address it, they can't say that they didn't say and didn't mean and didn't do these things when they're misleading people on subjects. Incomplete information. Information that's being given is being given from what perspective? What are the things that you're being faced with and by whom? How has it been benefiting them when they try to convince you that it's been benefiting you because they're involved? No, it's not benefiting you, it's benefiting them. And they're trying to convince you that what they're involved in that's benefiting them is benefiting you. But we're intelligent people, right? So just take a back for a second, stand back for a second and see if what they're talking about that they have accomplished and not accomplished and the things that they're bringing forward to you to see if it really is benefiting you or if it's something that is benefiting them that they're trying to convince you it benefits uh, you about simply because they can do so, right? I don't think that we're that gullible, but I think they can get away with it because, again, a lot of times we're respected persons. We want to believe somebody because we know them, because they have a title, or because they can express to you that they have a certain expertise in a certain area, or they went to school for this, or they went to school for that. And we have to stop that because that's how we're being misled. And the person who seeks to keep you in any control would know that. So they would seek to always elevate those people who are most likely going to deceive you. It is easy for us as a people, because we've been doing it for years, to sit back and wait for someone to solve the problem for you. And they're going to ask you to support what they're doing by just following and supporting the lead. But you don't have to actually know or believe in yourself to support something by following what they're, for years now, they're asking you to do is to follow and believe because they're taking a position to lead. But it's only an informative people is who change things. So in order for you to follow anyone correctly, you would have to be equally informed and knowledgeable on subjects, no matter where you are in the society, to be able to affect a positive change. So when people are keen to having people follow them and like what they say and what they do, the only way you can like what someone is doing is by you actually doing something to support that which you say you like, that that person is doing. And we can't no longer wait for people to validate you. Know that you're intelligent. Know that the people that you want to be around is going to allow you to grow and to learn the things, not to learn to follow, but to actually be competent in the things that's affecting you. That's what teaching people to fish looks like, and that's where we're probably going to be met um, with people who don't want to, because it's you're getting into an uncomfortable zone. You're accustomed to being depending on somebody uh, delivering for you, speaking for you. Yes, we all can speak at the same time. Yes, we all can, but at the same time, know that you're intelligent, to know what the subjects are, to know what the facts are equally, so that somebody amongst you can rise and defend that which you know. People are quick to mention Ibrahim Traore and the people of Burkina Faso, and some of them have to stop, because if you brought that which Ibrahim is following right now, they would not be supporting it. You can't possibly say that you're representing Ibrahim, or you admire what he is doing with the people of Burkina Faso and thinking that Ibrahim could have ever done it by himself. No, he has an equal amount of people who are just as intelligent, if not some of them are more intelligent than he is, so that he can do what the people needs to get done to benefit them. And if you're not defending the fact that we have a constitution right now that's completely independent of what the colonizer has to say about it, then you can't possibly think and understand what Ibrahim and the people of the Sahel are doing. Because all they're simply doing is to get rid of colonialism and all its forms and all its manifestations, which means they've been under colonial rule and control for many years now, where the people in the colony has not been benefiting to any degree while the colonizer is. And that kind of foolish mentality, that kind of foolish acceptance of life just has to stop. The whole colonial structure. So at a time in the world when the peoples of the world who are under colonization is getting rid of it in its genesis form, to getting rid of colonization right now, here comes the parent of colonization, imperialism, raising its head to oppose the energy that's bringing about a liberation of a people. Liberation from what? From colonialism that's been benefiting the colonizers by way of what? Slavery. Good morning, caller. Thank you for the call.
Hello.
Good morning. Thank you for the call.
Yes, sir. How are you today?
Good morning, Mr. Nims. How you doing?
Okay. On the previous Rockefeller became to have all of this land that he purchased, supposedly purchased, on St. John's National Park. And I know that Ida Smith, when she ran for the seat, delegate to the House of Representatives, and the matter with Whistling Key and geodetic surveys and land grabs and such, particularly in St. John, came up. She spoke to that very eloquently, and I had put out a call for her to come on to the show and, talk to the people about it, because a lot of people just don't simply understand exactly what happened, and they tried to say, well, Rockefeller did the right thing, but not understanding nor realizing that people's land was taken from them, and with geodetic surveys will show who the original owners of the land were or are, and not maybe who now have it saying that it's theirs. So I was hoping that she would have come on. I was absent for a while from the air and I started listening, but I don't know if she did. But again, I'm using this medium to call on her because the people need to know. And we have this situation where other people getting involved in the local talent shows and picking up themselves and repeating stuff and are not the ones that really know or had anything or knowledge of it really. And that is why I was doing that.
All right.
Anyway, we are looking at the state of the territory address that should be forthcoming. And I, along with everyone else, is waiting with bated breath to understand what exactly the governor is going to say he did in 8 years, other than build nothing. Schools, hospitals, roads, power plants. I mean, you name it, on and on and on. But yet, I'm sure the address is going to be very flowery, go over it in a fast way, and there's going to be a bunch of people sitting there, clap, 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 clap,
All right,
clap, clap.
Mr. Nibs, it's just politics as usual, Mr. Nibs.
Yes, it will be just politics as usual.
I'm
but
going.
Then, in the meantime, the children suffering with mold in school, and people are dying in the hospital parking lot.
Mr. Nibs.
So, again, though, and as you have said, rightly so, Russ, it is we, the people, that allow these things to happen to us. So we better get up off our tail and literally fight for our rights and demand that this cadre of people that's now coming out of the world, everybody wants to become an art because it pays a lot of money and you could make a lot of things and get into a lot of deals and corruption. But then, is that really what it's about, or are you wanting these jobs to help the people or help to destroy them?
Mr. Nibs.
I'll continue to listen.
Okay. All right. Thank you for all, Mr. Nibs.
Okay.
And Mr. Nibs, you know me, right? With the amount of knowledge that you have, I want to see that knowledge put in a place where it's going to affect the very same change that we're looking for. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, right, Mr. Nibs? Again, this is the political season. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And again, you walk yourself through um, the nature of things, the nature of the beast, and the politics or the politics, the evidence of puppeteering and puppet masters. Listen, I don't know. Call if you can call again. How are we going to straighten these things out, right? But we're going to get there eventually. Right? The wrinkles are going to have to be ironed out, steamed out. Um, because politics, as usual, is not going to bring about any change among the people. And I hope that when people say that, when I say politics as usual, that they make sure that I'm not involved in the politics as usual. I'm not going to bring any change to people. It's just going to be mixed to wherever the disingenuousness can solve or can fit in to the puzzle. And at the end of the day, the puzzle doesn't bring the result that the people need, that the children need, because the whole politics as usual game is being played. And I don't know when people are really going to stop it. Really. There is no hot and cold. You're either hot or you're cold. There's no good and evil. You're either evil or you're good. You're not in between. And when you start to play the in between games, you produce what? Knowledge that doesn't affect the change. Sad, sad, sad how puppet masters control puppets. People, we have to move away from politics as usual. It's not going to do us any good. It has never done us any good. Look around you. What change is it going to bring about? Remember, I asked a question a few weeks ago of who is the most dangerous individual in a room? If it's the warmonger, the peacekeeper, or the war tactician, I mean. If you figure that out, let me know. Because during this time of politics, again, politics as usual is going to have strange bedfellows. They're going to have strange alliances. They're going to have people who don't like this person for that reason, or that person doesn't like this for this person, that all of a sudden, all of that back and forth. And during politics now, everybody is hypocritical, one to the next, to the other. And what's the purpose of it at the end of the day? What is the purpose of it? Good morning, caller. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, good morning. All right, my brother. What's good? What's good?
Hey, good morning. All right. How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I've been trying to get a hold of you for a while, but I said let me call you real quick. So I noticed you speaking about those certain things about truth, about facts and stuff. Like even though people see the facts in front of them, like, cause nobody could say you're lying about. Okay, this is what's going on with the hospitals. This is what's going on with the schools. It's fact. It's right in front of our face. Right? So I want to read something real quick so I can give you back your time because time is of the essence.
You can go ahead. Take your time. Go ahead.
It has this guy, right, named Yuri Bezmenov. And this is somebody I've been reading up on a little bit, studying him a little bit because
what's the name? What's the name?
His name, Yuri Bezmenov, a former KGB informant. Now, he was speaking because he's a very well-known speaker, and people could go look him up because we don't just need to look at our African ancestor stories and the slave stories. We also need to learn from people like them who've been involved in the KGB, the CIA, all of this to show us what really happened, right, with our people. So he says he's a former KGB informant, right? And he spent much of his life warning the world about the dangers of government propaganda, right? And how it can distort truth in society. His reflections offer a powerful insight into the mechanics of demoralization, how it strips away the capacity for individuals to perceive the truth, even when presented with irrefutable facts. So according to him, once a person is demoralized, they become immune to truth information, no matter how much evidence is shown to them. So this powerful observation sheds light on the pervasive influence of misinformation, because that's exactly what you were speaking about earlier when you were saying that we're watching all these social medias and everybody wants to post this and everybody wants to post that. But are we really, really doing our research? Are we doing our critical thinking to find out what is true, like what is factual, so we could stop following the propaganda? That's all I'm saying. So as you look, he also said a couple of things. He said a person who is demoralized is unable to access true information. Okay? So the truth will be right in front of us. Like I said, look at the truth. Like, look at all the senators. Let's reason a little bit real quick. Look at all the senators. Have they done anything like you question? You ask the question, but yet people still on the other side is pushing this voting thing. Like, and then we got people who is going to run in these positions who is mostly recycled people. It's just people coming from out of the Senate looking to be a governor or a lieutenant governor, but did nothing when they was a senator. Then you got people who was commissioners that's looking to run, and then you got a couple of regular people who wants to run for position for government and all of these things. But you really have to do your true background check on all of them. We are all related. We are all cousins. We're all uncles. We're all grandfathers. And let's be real and let's be true for this election, since you want to continuously push in the vote. Ask yourself, who can we trust? And give thanks, Russ, for this little time you gave me. And you stay strong, brother?
Well, thank you, caller, for that. And caller?
Yes, I'm listening.
I'm sorry. You said it was, I didn't get the last name.
Yuri Bendov.
And he is KGB, or former KGB.
KGB, a former. So I would more listen to him than to listen to somebody here, because all they want to do is keep filling our head up with the propaganda. And I did hear you mention about the children and stuff like that. So if you do not, if you don't love the children, who are you loving? Half of we done that already, getting ready to go in the ground, and we still want to call radio station and act like we're relevant? No, I ain't having that. So you have a good day and stand firm.
Okay, well, thank you, caller, for that. Thank you for at least giving us a perspective from that. You see, where at least from that perspective, you can see how government agencies, intelligence agencies in different parts of the world, how they use that sort of knowledge that they have based on what people are going to act and react on. And it speaks also to, it lends itself when there's a reasoning block occurring and out of nowhere, you would have the reasoning block sort of interrupted, and you know more or less what's that all about. And it goes and it applies to exactly what the caller was calling. And this is a former KGB, if I remember, agent. Equally so, if you know how the intelligence community works, A lot of things that people are saying here now, they're saying it even when they speak in tones uh, of knowledge on a subject. It is pure in ignorance of certain things. If you really know how the intelligent community works, how they're interrelated, right? And that being said, you can't process people to think differently when they're insisting that, when their minds are controlled. And this is a control mechanism that's happening uh, year after year, decades after decades, generations after generations, and the system hasn't changed. And you get to a point where people believe that they have to participate in the system without realizing who created, what's the history of it. You would have people here still trying to uh, rationalize how people think and how people process things based on being respecter of persons. And you have to be very careful with it because that's part of what's been affecting us. Um, and these are the people who will say otherwise, but if no one is looking, they'll be quick to take care of their own first, whether or not their own is deserving of anything. And that's also a mindset that intelligent agencies throughout the world uses, not only the KGB. There's several different types of intelligence agencies within the U.S. as well, and what they're connected to internationally, and how that intelligent body, that network, is actually controlling the election and the voting systems. So when people are believing, let's take first the national elections, when they're believing that the only way a people can have change is by going through the voting system, the election systems. And these same intelligent bodies know that that's not what's producing the change. And they're smiling because you have people who are adamant about it. They're willing to give up their life, speaking to, wanting to participate in the election system because unfortunately that's all that they know and they believe in, to say that that's the only way a people is going to get a remedy when the whole system is rigged to do just the opposite of. But it takes a while for people to get this out of their system. It takes a while for them to even be willing, because again, don't forget, some of us are just predisposed to being slaves, no matter what you tell them. And by definition, I see someone looking to post things on their Facebook, and by definition, this is what the lawful definition of an idiot is. The legal definition of what an idiot is. Not that you're calling someone out of their name, but based on their deeds, based on their performance, based on what they continue to stay and stand ground on, they're proving themselves to be an idiot all the time. That's just by definition, the word. So we say that because that is also proof of this conditioning that, again, these intelligent bodies know. They have the research, they have the searches going forward. They have the evidence to know what they're going to put before people, how people are going to try and rationalize, how they're going to try to come into certain platforms to do and to say what, to cause disruption. You have to ignore these things because, uh, an idiot is what an idiot does, and stupid is what stupid does. And that's a line that was, that's Forrest Gump, uh, right? Now, people, when we stop doing politics as usual, where somebody is going to elect to create a platform for other people, and they're doing so uh, hoping to be rewarded, when we stop that, we're going to progress as a people. Because at best, I guarantee you, at best, there's some level of structure of carnal desires involved in that, at best. I will bet anything. At the end of the day, that's the curse. These people don't know when to stop. Carnality, the curse, the thing, the very same massive, and even if you believe that there is a devil or Satan, whichever one you choose to, it's known that that's the weakest part is flesh, lust for flesh. Say what you want, philosophize all you want, lust for flesh. It's accepted. The proponents of anybody participating back here or there guarantee you that's also the nature of where the curse is coming from, where this sexual immorality, this lust for flesh, this whole platform, given this whole environment right now, this political season, how are we going to walk away from that when you can't get rid of the curse? I do not do politics as usual. It doesn't benefit my people anywhere on this planet. It doesn't benefit. And when we start to play politics as usual, what's involved? Lust for flesh, um, lies, theft, envy, jealousy. Look at the condition of the territory. It's not only here, but it's pretty much, it blankets the earth. It's not just unique to the territory, or to say the colony, but you can't justify anything Anglo-Saxons do, labeled white, labeled European, and think that you're going to justify it only when it benefits you. Any agreement made by any Anglo-Saxon states on this planet outside of the jurisdiction that they have is bogus documentation. Know that. Not asking anybody for permission to think that. I'm not playing politics as usual as to who these documents benefit. Just know that any documents Anglo-Saxon states, especially those who enslave a people who doesn't have jurisdiction or authority to, you cannot qualify nor guaranteed those documents to be worthy of anything. We have work to do, which means we have to do the work. If we have knowledge, we have to put it to its proper use. Not putting it to the proper use doesn't give us power. We need power, right? Which is, if we're going to have knowledge, let's put it to its proper use. The mindsets and reasonings are guaranteed to provoke different things for different reasons, right? Well, let's maintain the reasoning based on that. It is at best a tool, and it's a tool that was used by these intelligence agencies to always disrupt a train of thought. And that's why we have to be careful as to who do what and who does the bidding for you. Always have to be concerned with that, because there's always going to be an element of treason, an element of betrayal. It's always been part of trying to disrupt anything, militarily and otherwise. It's funny because before the show started, we were doing such in-depth reasonings. That time had passed us by. We didn't know, and part of the reasoning was the structuring as to how majority of talk shows sometimes are being disrupted when a particular teaching is going on, a particular block of reasonings, and how the tools are being used for interruption and don't not staying on the subject, and how that's being done. And it was very interesting because it's across all platforms. And one of the callers called, and I can't remember fully the names of, and forgive me, the KBG agent who is acknowledging that that's one of the tools that the KGB used. But it's not only the KGB; it's the CIA, the FBI, the AIA, the DEA, the Mossad, the M16, all these groups use the same tactics. They know more or less, and that's why you have to be careful who's involved in what you're doing, and you can't be concerned just about what you need to get done, and not being cautious as to who is doing it. And that's a red flag you run away from, because that's always lends itself for the work not being done to its fullness, and it's only serving certain people. And we have to stop that, because politics as usual is not going to get us anywhere. And I try my best not to get into politics as usual. As a matter of fact, I don't accept it. It's not a nice thing if you want to liberate a people, if we expect to be free, we can't do it with politics as usual. You can't go before your brothers and your sisters and you're lying and you're saying this and you don't like this person is a thief, this person is this one is a pedophile, this one is back and forth, this one is a murdered child molester, back and all these things, and still get in bed and affiliated with them to do what? To produce what, people? To produce the same thinking, the same process that put us where we are right now, where we don't have a hospital. I repeat myself all the time. We don't have competent systems of learning, educational system. You know, we have the the educational system actually is intact, but the system of learning it isn't. The educational system have a commissioner, they have a deputy commissioner, they have assistants, they have principal, they have vice principals. All these things are intact. They're getting paid. That's the educational system, but the system of learning is not. We have a health commissioner. They have assistant commissioner. They have assistants. They have directors. They have everybody, and the pay is there. But look at the territories. We don't have hospitals, fully functioning hospitals, and it's not for lack of money. And this is the year 2026, and we have people who want to put themselves in position to be recognized as pillars in this local talent show, who at best every year have these politicians sit before them back and forth and tell lies, and it's gotten to the point where it's acceptable as part of the lingo now to reference the hospitals by their acronyms: JFL, SRMC, Snyder Regional Medical Center, and at best they're just glorified uh, clinics, modulars. And for the past how many years we're accepting these things, and we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk and we accept these things because it's politics as usual, and everybody wants to try and create a change based on using politics as usual. That's not going to deliver a people. Guarantee you the looseness of the tongue, sexual lewdness, and lewd is a nice word I'm trying to use, right? Is the foundation of everything. So you would know where it stands, and you would know where it is based on the amount of time it's repeated and introduced into conversation when it doesn't require it. Where is the lack of respect? I should say, where is respect? And who accepts it, not realizing that that's a curse. No one here is self-righteous, believe me. I don't claim to be an angel, but what I said, the devil is no friend of mine. You have people who are going to actually prostitute themselves physically and spiritually. All that's happening now, all that's happened in the past, and it's happening right now. Again, where the people in the territory are complaining about our elected and our selected officials, where they're getting ready now to try and justify this whole election system and where the wrong is being committed in the base of the process, and we're not questioning who is going in to fill those individual um, openings in the government, who is going to fill the Senate seats, the executive seats, the judicial seats as well, and all the seats necessary to run a government that carries out the interests of a people. Who, what kind of mentality? The same people who are doing it right now in their private life before they go into these places, who are, again, the looseness of the tongue, the lust for flesh when people can see and don't know about it, the spiritual and the mental lust for flesh back and forth, that whatever that is, a physical is still happening, mental, all these things. And that's what the problem is, people, whether you choose to believe it or not. And until we can learn our people to fish as opposed to giving them fish, we're not going to come out from what we are, because we're accustomed to this business. And either we're going to be serious and part from it, or we're going to actually entertain it. At the end of the day, we're coming close to the top of the hour, and we're going to have to say bye until next week. And I am faulted myself for not bringing a level of consistency that I want to bring, but things are happening organically, and without apologies to anyone. I don't think that people who don't want to accept the truth, or who are denying hearing the truth, does so because it's a responsibility. Once you know the truth, what are you going to do with it? So some people would elect to remain in ignorance, because if you give them truth, then they're responsible for acting on it, right? So some people don't want the truth. Some people are incapable of understanding what truth lies, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how you say it. Some people just will not be able to handle it, and some people don't want it because, their reward is in living whatever benefits the lies is given them. That's how they get rewarded. They feel good. That's a good zone for them to be in, where they can capitalize on just that. So some people would be willing to remain in ignorance and not want to hear the truth, because then once you got the truth, then you're responsible for reacting on it, right? So you tell me what side of that coin you're on. And again, everything takes work and everything takes time, right? We need time, and time is what we don't have, you know? But what are we going to say and what are we going to do?
Your call has been forwarded to.
What are we going to say and what are we going to do? We have a lot of work to do, and hopefully that those of you who have some level of integrity and who wants to accept the truth, and it doesn't have to be that you're accepting any truth, I'm saying, for whatever reasons, people choose to listen to who they want to. As long as you're listening to truth, that's fine. As long as you're listening to truth, it's fine. We'll accept that. But we have work to do, and part of the work is getting rid of colonialism and all its form and all its manifestation. We have to do that, or else we're never going to be able to get rid of it. We're never going to be able to get rid of it. And equal participation in truth sometimes is good. So, I'm going to encourage you to call, but you know me, I don't want to hear the same complaints over and over. And I always call and inform you of something I don't know, because there's a lot of things I don't know, a lot of things that we don't know. So it's always good for us to hear something that's happening in the territory that we're not aware of. These are the things we need to, to hear, and that's good. But let's not make it a complaint where we get so wrapped into it that we're repeating the same thing without finding an avenue to correct it. So let's become a people of doing and doing to correct things, as opposed to people who are not doing anything and just accepting all the wrongs that are being done to us every week, every day. Know that we have children right now who are being marginalized just by going into the school sanctuary where they're supposed to be taken care of, loved, and respected, and that's not happening. But people, before we forget, in the essence of time, we're glad that you were able to stay with us and we were able to make up for some of the time because we started late. But I would always ask you people to never give up your rights, never surrender your rights, and never purchase privileges or to be given privileges. Okay, and our ancestors would always ask us to walk good in favor. Till next week.
Looking good.